The number one source of friction in your engine is not what you think. Piston rings rubbing against the cylinder walls generate more friction than any other part of the engine. More friction and temperature means more wear and less horsepower. Fortunately, the team at Total Seal knows how to reduce friction and wear through innovative piston ring design. If it takes a piston, Total Seal can build a better ring.
For more than a decade, FTI has strived to become the leader in the aftermarket performance transmission and converter industry. We've joined forces with McLeod Driveline Components under the leadership of Top Fuel Funny Car pilot Paul Lee, and now have a larger distribution network, more resources, and more power. Come see us in the pits and ask how you can join the FTI family. It's not cheating, it is the competitive edge.
It's Antron Brown, driver of the Macro Tools Top Fuel Dragster, and yes, I'm a 3-time world champ. But you know what? When I win, I go straight to WFO Radio, baby. I want to see you listening in.
This is WFO Radio.
Hey everybody, WFO Radio back on the air as we get closer and closer to the start of the NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series season. The Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals just a couple of weeks away. The Baby Gators just a couple of weeks away. Everybody thinking about what it's going to be like. The Pep Boys Top Fuel All-Star Call-Out is going to be happening. It's going to be amazing. Testing going on. Everybody getting on the track as best as is possible, including myself this past weekend. I was down there at Speed World Dragway in Orlando, Florida. Got a couple of laps in Super Street. Got a grading point, which was really the goal. Worked very hard to get to the point where I could get one of those. And so now I'm on the board with a grading point. I exist as far as an NHRA Lucas Oil Series racer. Post a lot on social media about that. Don't know how much we're going to get into that. We got the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, going to be joining us just minutes from now. He's got his Cackle engine fired up. It's ready to go almost. We'll hear the story about that. We'll just kind of talk about the issues of the day. We'll answer some of your questions, whatever they may be, and we'll just keep getting ready as NHRA season gets closer and closer. But before we do that, I do want to talk about the people who make it possible for me to go WFO, some of the great sponsors you see on the screen right there. You might not need them right now. It's as simple as that. You might not need them right now at this moment, but there will come a time where you need them, where you need like, oh man, that's a thing that I heard about on Joe's show. Maybe I should reach out to Bernie Speed Shop, for instance. Now, they got the big Fan Fest coming up the Wednesday before the Gator Nationals. I recommend you get into town early. If you're flying in from out of town, might be a little too late for this plan, but the trick is, so the Gainesville airport is really relatively small, right? Not a lot of flights that go into Gainesville, but people fly into Orlando and they fly into Jacksonville. And if you had to choose one or the other, I'd choose Orlando so you could drive north right past Bernie's and swing by for the big Fan Fest on Wednesday night. They've got over 100,000 square feet, body shop, restoration shop. They sell e-bikes. They've got so much going on. But most importantly, it is their great selection of classic and exotic cars that are for sale. And they even sell on consignment. BURNYZZ.com, Bernie Speed Shop, where I will be Wednesday before the Gator Nationals. Check out their social media. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Which would you purchase? And the consignment deal is great. Foggit, FOGGIT.com, available now at Summit. If you want to support the show, Gary Stinnett, and this amazing brand, go to Summit Racing and order it up. But you can also get it on Amazon. You can get it on Foggit.com. And what does it do? It protects your very expensive investment, your cylinder surface. You've worked so hard, and now slowly it's going to corrode due to sulfuric acid and condensation mixing at the end of the night. Fog it down, protect it. It works on so many other things, including firearms. They're using it in the machine shop as a lubricant. It's a really high-end lubricant spray that is designed to protect your cylinder wall finish at the end of the night. Whether you're a bracket racer, whether you're a go-kart racer, you could use it on a weed eater. You got to fog it down, and it'll start right up the next time. And we'll tell you more. If you want to email me about any of these products and sponsors, reach out to me, Joe at WFOradio.com. Like CWTindustries.com, balancing machines. I know we got a lot of machine shop guys out there. I know it. And you've got the machine in your shop that has been the same for 20 years and you've used it and it works, and why switch it? Why switch it? Well, the answer is the technology is so much better, and CWT Industries can save you time and make you money by doing a better job quicker and faster and more efficiently with touchscreen technology that is intuitive and is easy for the operator. It's that simple. Just like everything else in the world, they have improved so many different things. If you'd like to know more, email me, Joe, at WFOradio.com, and I'll put you together with Randy Neal from CWTindustries.com. I had the opportunity to go back up to FTI Performance and pick up my Power Glide transmission for Project Pontiac. Things getting real now. I'm getting a grading point. I'm picking up transmissions. Those of you who want to follow the true story of Project Pontiac, just keep on my social media, WFO Joe, and it will all be revealed. But FTI Performance and Paul Lee, they wanted to jump in and help out, go through my transmission, make sure I had the right stuff to send a 3,200-pound car down the racetrack with what Alan Reinhart says is 1,800 horsepower. I beat you, Reinhart. Yeah, I can jump it up there too. But honestly, I'm not going through all of this to put in something in the car that is not reliable. And that's why I went to FTI, whether it be .90 Racing, Big Money Bracket Racing, Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, Big Power, or your street car. They make the parts and pieces, torque converters especially. You can also go to FTIparts.com and find out more. Folks at Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Of course, the Hidden Horsepower podcast is a favorite in the industry. I wonder how many cars out there in the Daytona 500 were running Total Seal Piston Rings. Probably the majority, if not all. Amazing what Total Seal has done to advance the knowledge. There will be a Total Seal Trackside Tech Talk at Gainesville. It's free with the price of your ticket. You can't come in the gate saying you want to go to the Tech Talk. You got to buy a ticket, but then you get the Tech Talk for free. It's amazing. All the education and the cool stuff that's going on in the pits at the NHRA. Total Seal doing a great job of educating everybody out there. Technology has changed the way you've always done it. The ring package you've always had, and it's always worked. It works, but does it work as well as it could? That's what we're talking about. Big updates, totalseal.com. Call Keith Jones and let him know. Phillips-Connect.com, smart trailer technology for those of you over the road in the transportation industry. You want to stay connected with your trucks and trailers, make sure they're loaded, make sure they're safe, make sure they're on time. Phillips-Connect. And yes, I can connect you with the folks at Phillips Connect very, very easily. Later on in the show, I'll tell you about RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. I'll tell you about how to become a Patreon so you could hear it from Heiner, the Pro Stock Show, and of course, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and samtech.edu. Great supporters from way back for the over 10 years that we have done this show. Look at those people out there. Remember, we're going to answer your questions. We're going to tackle your comments. And the voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, is joining us now. There he goes. What's up, AR? How are you?
I'm great. I'm getting ready to go racing.
You got what, divisional racing this weekend at Firebird?
Yes, sir. I'm headed up tomorrow for the double divisional, and it's starting to crank up now. So I've been home too long. It's time to go.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been home too long. I love being home, but I want to go do something else. And this past weekend I went out and was at the track, and the warm places are firing up, right? The warm places. This is where the cold weather places, they're not jealous of us. They love the cold. They love the seasons and the leaves. They tell me all the time. We just get to start a little bit earlier than they do and race longer than they do.
They can have the cold. They can have the seasons. They can have the changing of the leaves. No problem at all. I will stick with being down here. It's been convertible weather for the last week or so. It looks like it's going to be the same this week. So should be about perfect for the event up in Phoenix. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm just a couple of reasons. One, as I said, home too long. It's just time to get back to it. I honestly believe, I went back and looked a little bit, but I think January is the first month in 20 years that I didn't spend a single night in a hotel. And so being home is just, it's over. And the fact that we still have the racetrack in Phoenix, because when we left there last year and then they held their last event, early summer, we really thought that was the last time anybody would ever do a burnout on that property. So the fact that we've got the racetrack back is also a reason to celebrate.
100%. That there's an, we always talk about the nationals. You think about where you're going to be able to run the Mission Foods series, right? Can Mission Foods come to your town? Major market like Phoenix, Super Bowl town. The NFL has the Super Bowl in Phoenix. NASCAR has the season finale in Phoenix for multiple reasons, but it is a city that knows how to host big events. It just is. Like Miami, we know how to, like Las Vegas, we know how to host big events, and you want to have your major league sport in a major league town. It's just the way it is. So losing a national event, but this double divisional, the divisional schedule, and I'm speaking from very recent experience, we got a great product there. It's so cool. All these racers that are out there with Comp Eliminator, Super Comp, Super Gas, Super Street, Stock, Super Stock, coming down there to be a part of something. Where else are they going to be able to do that? You got a double divisional this weekend. That is great. And you got to have a place for them. Where would it have been if not for Firebird?
Yeah, and not just that. I mean, obviously, from my standpoint, I make my living working at national events and working at divisional events, so I definitely want them. But even from a community standpoint, every community that has lost a racetrack has seen a spike in street racing, has seen a spike in these street takeovers and all this illegal stuff that's going on out there. And I know there's plenty of that goes on anyway, but the racetrack is really a very good community partner and a very good community neighbor. And, ask any community that's lost one if they'd like to have it back, if they'd like to have some place for the car enthusiasts to go to take it off of the streets. And so the fact that that racetrack is back is just, I'm telling you, I'm giddy and really looking forward to getting back up there.
I can't wait. No, I'm so excited to go there for the Arizona Nationals. So excited. The location, we don't need to get all into that detail, but the location, you're right near a casino. You're right near the city. If you want to go run to Dick's Sporting Goods to get some waterproof boots because it's pouring rain on one given day out of nowhere, you can do it. Not necessarily speaking from experience or anything, but you can do it. There's that Rustler's Roost place, which is a cool tourist destination. You can eat a snake, all kinds of fun stuff in that part of the country. It's beautiful, the desert, and we're going to be back there again. Like, oh man, thank goodness they saved that track. I want to hug somebody, not you though.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. You can find somebody else to hug. We'll be fine.
Hug someone from the
anyway,
track in the pre-race.
Speaking of divisional racing, you were tied for the point lead in Division 2 for a while, right?
I was going into second round, Alan. I was tied for the points lead in the division. Then, I fell off a little bit. Couldn't get behind the guy.
Well, half of the people that were there can't say that.
That is true. That was my first NHRA Lucas Oil Series round win. I now exist. I entered a race at Moroso Motorsports Park in, I don't even remember the year. I think it was 1993, which would make it 30 years ago. Let's not dwell on that depressing thought, though. Let's just move forward to entering a race, staging up in Super Street. My wonderful friend Lee Neal offering his beautiful S10. Thing normally runs 930s. We had to figure out how to stop it down and get it to run 1090s-ish. Many challenges. The car hadn't really been down the track in a year, so we were chasing some idle circuit issues, but I won a round, man. I won a round, and I have the round. Of course, I'll play the video later on in the show. I'll play it. Warren Evans on the call. The answer to the trivia question 30 years from now, who was on the call when Joe won his historic first ever Lucas Oil round win? It was Warren Evans.
That's good to know. And, make sure we save that clip, because when you do win the championship, we can go back and play that at the banquet.
That's right. That's right. After I advocate for a Super Street World Championship, which I'm definitely going to bat for the Super Street category, maybe to the point of annoyance and becoming fired. But what a great experience, though, Alan. Driving yourself, like racing something. It's definitely very fun and cool, but the experience was so worthwhile for the job that I normally do out there as a track announcer. To have pulled into the water box in a moment of consequence, not wanting to have my day ended by the guy in the other lane, knowing that if I do something incorrect, improper, stupid. If I make a blunder, I will be ridiculed for all times by my wonderful friends. Like that was an intense experience. The adrenaline was up and I was able to deliver. No fails, no mistakes, nothing stupid. I did get beaten second round, but man, the .90 racers, their experience, because of the throttle stop deal, so many people just crap on it because there's a throttle stop involved. It's an awesome experience. And I really wish people would try hard to get past their preconceived notion of what a throttle stop is and does.
Well, I mean, not all cars that go down the racetrack are looking for all-out performance. I mean, if you don't put some kind of restriction somewhere, then everything ends up being top fuel, right? Because somebody's going to go spend to go faster and faster and faster and faster. So the .90 categories are a way that you can go racing without having to necessarily, mortgage your house or sell your kids or do whatever else you got to do to pay for this stuff. And it levels the playing field. It's so somebody with a budget can go out there and have a legitimate chance to win. And I do believe that, it's more of a participant thing. I understand from a spectator standpoint, if people come out there and they want to see all out performance, that, that's not going to be your favorite category. I get it. Well, that gives you a chance to go get a hot dog or go get a soda and then come back. But from a participant standpoint, you still get the thrill pulling into the water bottle. And I don't get to do it very often either. But every time I do, when you get the race master and you pull into the water box, whether I'm running 11 seconds in a stocker or 1090 in a super streeter, or I'm sitting in the same water box that, Tony Schumacher sits in. I'm sitting in the same water box that Matt Hagan sits in or John Forsythe. It's the same experience, right? The same Christmas tree, the same, and the feeling of being there is really cool. And again, it's not about all out performance, but that makes the driver skill even more important because my crew chief can't beat you. Right. If I screwed up, I screwed up. And it's pretty intense feeling being in there when you got the helmet on and it's like, okay, this is it, me against you. And, you're trying to ruin my day and I want to have some more fun. So I better do a good job so I can come back and do it. I absolutely love the experience. And it like I said, doesn't matter if you're running 11 seconds or 14 seconds or 3 seconds, when you're pulling into the water box and you get ready to make your run, it's just a cool deal.
That's it. That is exactly it. And, haters going to hate, man. They're out there like these people. They don't want to open their minds to anything new. Screw that. We're not doing it. You said it last week. People hate when things stay the same and people also hate change. They go to the finish line and watch .90 racing and you won't have to deal with any of that throttle stop stuff unless Chris Gerritsen is on the track. They're storming down there at 180 miles an hour. Don't tell me 180 is slow or not worth your while. The vehicle I was running was an S10, was going 141 around 1090. It was a fun ride. It was, at first I was like, I haven't driven anything like that. See, I don't even want to say the word fast because somebody out there is going to be like, that's not fast, Joe. You suck. I hate that I entertain those people so much, but I had a blast in this car. I had a blast going 141 and I can't wait to do it again. And we're pitted right by the scoreboards, right? So seeing a couple of cars come storming through the lights at 135 was still intense. Not 300, but still very intense.
Well, people are going to throw rocks and there's not much you can do to stop them. But, like I have talked about before, if there's an incident on the racetrack, from a fan standpoint, okay, not from a racer standpoint, but from a fan standpoint, after you watch cars run 300 miles an hour, you watch the alcohol cars run 270, 280 miles an hour. I get it. The stock eliminator cars, the super gas cars, they don't look like they're going that fast. But you said you're going 141 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Somebody that doesn't race, when's the last time they were going 140 miles an hour?
On a plane.
It's fast.
Yeah.
And especially if something goes wrong. And it's fun. And, that's why people do it. But the beauty of NHRA Championship drag racing is simple. There's something for everybody. If .90 racing is not your cup of tea, that's fine. We've got stock. We got super stock. We got top drag. Sure, we got, alcohol. We get everything. There's something out there for everyone. Whether you run a minivan or whether you run a top fuel car, we've got something for everyone. If .90 racing is not your thing, then just hang out for a few minutes because there'll be another class coming up and maybe that will be your thing.
that's it. You can walk the pits, you can go out, you can enjoy everything. Like there's so many things to do at a drag race. Mark Banks. So that's my weekend. You know, if I got questions later, we'll talk about it after Alan is through. Mark Banks wants, is there any way we can pressure Reinhart into firing up the Cackle car on WFO? I happen to have a video that Alan sent that we don't have to go through the Alan firing it up on the air because we've got this. I love the cast iron exhaust manifolds.
When's the last time somebody had a blown alcohol HEMI with cast iron manifolds?
I don't know, man. I have no idea. Garlets, who knows? That was amazing. So you're progressing. It sounds healthy, man.
Yeah, there it sits. Here, I'll get out of the way.
There it is. Yeah, get out of the way.
Yeah, it's the first time it'd been fired up with the blower on it. I did fire it up a couple weeks ago with carburetor on it, make sure it had oil pressure and all that kind of stuff. So it's the first time it was fired up with the blower on it. Somebody sent me a note and said, "Why didn't you whack the throttle?" Well, I didn't whack the throttle because it was running on alcohol, and I just ran a tube.
Yeah.
From a jug of alcohol sitting on the floor into the back of the injector. So the vacuum on top of the blower is sucking the fuel in, and you can't whack the throttle if it's not being fed by a fuel pump, basically. But got what I needed out of it. Made sure the lower belt was tracking properly. Got the timing set. It still had oil pressure and nothing fell off of it. And I've got a little bit of a leak that I need to track down and fix. But that was the goal, because the next time it fires up, it may fire up again here, but the next time it really fires up, it'll have nitro in it. And I didn't want to put nitro in it and have that be the first time I started it if the timing was off, if there was some other thing, if I was going to fire it up and the belt was going to go sideways and fall off the thing. I just wanted to make sure that everything mechanically did what it was supposed to do. And my run stand, everybody gives me a hard time about my run stand. I can't believe they don't like come on, that is a beautiful little.
It works, right? It works.
Yeah, it worked perfectly.
So I did think about
to tie the thing to the table, and what could possibly go wrong?
I did think about that. Bent Blomberg is out there. What's up, Bent? How are you? Good luck this weekend. He'll be running Top Sportsman out there by you. Monica out there checking in. And guys, like, I'm watching the numbers go up and hit a number and then come down. And they go up and they hit a number and they come down. And it's like, we're fighting the algorithm. Share the show for drag racing, folks. Let's do it. Got Ant Dog out there. Do hotels call Alan to check on him to make sure he's okay since he's not been racing? Like, are they calling you, Alan? This is Marriott, Reinhart. Where the heck
Dear
are you?
valued customer, we have missed you. Are you okay?
John says 5 hours and I'll be on my way to Louisiana. Right, Belrose this weekend too. Here we go. Angel on track.
Also, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I love what I do for a living, and I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form. But anybody that is a moderately regular traveler understands, I think, how some of the loyalty programs and that work. I am currently platinum level with IHG, which is a Holiday Inn chain.
Yes.
I'm diamond with Hilton.
Diamond.
And I'm titanium with Marriott, all at the same time.
Amazing. That's incredible.
That's a lot of nights in hotels.
Yes, that is.
I spend more nights in hotels, and on a calendar year, I spend more nights in hotels than I spend in my own house.
So recently, Marriott just had like a bedding sale. And I decided to get some Marriott pillows for the house because, might as well like make it consistent, right? We do a lot of Marriott with the NHRA travel department. And I'm excited to be going again. So anyway, Walt, this guy says we miss Englishtown. Walt Walker was very helpful to me, clipping the videos from NHRA TV and giving me some advice. Walt's like, roll 10 out. And I did. And then first round came around and I was just frightened to death to go red. Like, I don't want to go red. I'd rather go out like losing with the green light than, stab myself in the heart on the starting line and just be out. And so I rolled it back in, Walt. But I had a 22, a 22, and an 18 in my three most consequential runs. So I was pretty consistent. So while you were right, I should have rolled the 10 out. Billy says multi-time track champion Lee Neal, who offered me his vehicle. Everybody checking in. They're all excited about going racing this weekend. And what about the engine stand, though? The run stand. Do you need to have a load on that, or because it's a Cackle engine, it doesn't matter?
Well, it's just idling. I mean, where's it going to go?
Right. Just for seating.
I do have a tie strap on it. So
Okay. Derek wants to know, when was the last time you took a Pro Tree in competition? And you won a Super Street race, right? Way back in the day at Tucson. Am I correct about that?
I did. The last race I ever held at Tucson Dragway, the Winter Nationals 1985, I won Super Street. But the ADRA, which was basically the incarnation of the AHRA back in the day, their Super Street was just a bracket race. They had 2 categories that the local bracket racers could come out and just dial your own. And that way, the local racers could participate. Of course, time like that, we didn't have 600 cars coming to the Nationals. So there was room for, 40 or 50 of us, whatever there was that were running in the category. But yeah, I won Super Street. And back then, everything we did was Pro Tree. Other than like stock and super stock racing, everything, even the handicap stuff, was all Pro Tree. So that's what I drove. But the last couple of times, the last time I was in competition was in stock eliminator, so that would have been a full tree. I did run Chuck Hawk's Super Street car here in Tucson. That's probably been 10 years ago now. So yeah. But I can hit a full tree. Ask Pete Biondo. I scared the hell out of him.
You did. And to me, that was the best experience. Like, I always knew, we say just a bracket racer. I love bracket racing. I think bracket racing is underappreciated, and you can go race for 6 figures. So it's pretty amazing. And I plan to do that with Project Pontiac over there at Bradenton Motorsports Park or Speed World Orlando or somewhere within a few hours drive during those winter months that we were talking about, December and January. That's going to be part of Project Pontiac too. But since I was a kid, I have always wanted to be able to competitively attack a Pro Tree. And unfortunately, people at Federkyle was asking me, well, why didn't you run Super Street back in the day? Because our 3,300-pound stock suspension car was like 450 at best on the 4/10 Pro Tree. And it was just like not worth doing. The 5/10 Pro Tree is so much better. And I was in a chassis vehicle this weekend, so I was able to cut a light regardless. I was running 100 in the box. But I love that vibe, that feeling of staging up there for the Pro Tree. That person and you got to get after it, got to get off the button. Or it's going to be pretty freaking obvious who had the better light.
Were you able to judge reaction time advantage or disadvantage by watching the stage lights?
Not yet. No. And I was in my mind. So a couple of the week before, I thought how humiliating it could be if I went out there and I did terribly, right? Like I genuinely had that thought, like, oh my gosh, everybody's got my back and they're all like, yeah, get out there. And then if I go out there and I really looked horrible, that would not be good for me. So I spent some time thinking about things, like just visualizing, hitting the practice tree over here. And that was one of the things I was trying to train myself to be aware of. The round I lost, I had an 18, he had a 28. I felt like I left first, but I didn't notice the pre-stage bulbs going out. Like, I can't say that I noticed that. Every run down the track, things were slowing down. I was becoming more aware of things. My eyes were on the guy, Lee's oil pressure. That's really what I was focused on. Keeping the truck straight, feeling it out, watching the oil pressure, just in case. Because I didn't want to give him back his truck in a bucket. And, but every run down, I became aware of something else. And, once competition started, looking over, feeling like judging where he was, where I was, that kind of stuff. It was, but that's something that I have to learn, right? Like, you got to learn. If there's a way, a tell as to who had the better light definitively, like my pre-stage goes out before his pre-stage, I need to be aware of that.
And, the guys that are good at it can do that. It doesn't work, obviously, on a handicap tree because it's not the same thing. But, it just never ceases to amaze me. You talk to guys like Edmund Richardson or Scotty or Peter or that do this on a regular basis, and they'll go up there and they'll hit the tree and they'll come back and tell you, yeah, well, I knew I had 3. Like, what? Yeah, I saw it in the bulb. And that changes, obviously, your strategy when you get down to the other end of the racetrack. But it's like anything else, right? It's reps. If you do it, the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get, the more you're going to notice, the better you're going to get. It's about reps. And that's, there's a reason that the guys that are professionals at doing this win so many races. because if they go out there and they're racing 3 times a week and you're racing 3 times a year, they're going to be more practiced than you are. I'm not saying you're not going to get away with one once in a while, but if reps makes you better. It's as simple as that.
Simple as that. And where else can a 50-year-old nobody get the opportunity to have the feeling of genuine, race car competition, right? Like it's so accessible. This is something I wanted to do. My friend had a vehicle, thank God for him, of course. Lee, way to go. But anybody who wants to follow along and run some divisional races, there's a whole bunch of roads that you can take. And yes, it does cost money, but there's a budget for everybody. Like my buddy McNeil Freeman, like guys out there with the taxi having a blast in a 14-second 6-cylinder 4-door Caprice taxi, and he is living his best life. It is really amazing. Larry just joined the Patreons. Thank you, Larry. Felt guilty. If guilt is what works, Larry, you tell me, and I'll amp up the guilt for everybody else. If that's what worked, you tell me. All right. And Jerron Settles, were you just hanging with Jerron?
If only Joe had more Patreons, he could back half the Pontiac. If only.
It's already back half. I would need it's already back half, but
okay. Well, then he could
we definitely need stuff.
Is that the airbrush?
This is the airbrush. The airbrush says that he was hanging with you this morning.
He was. We actually had dinner last night. He came through town. We had dinner last night, and then I took him over. It looks like he's going to do the airbrushing on the funny car that I did the engine for. So we took him over to the guy here in town who had painted it, but it now needs to be lettered, and they're going to airbrush, obviously, the headlights, the taillights, all the decals and stuff. It looks like he's going to do it. So we took care of that this morning. Now he's on his way to Phoenix.
That's great. That's great. Look at this guy. Hey, Joe, I noticed towards the end of last year that NHRA tapped you for some sportsman announcing. They tapped me, Alan. Does that impact how much attention in the pits you can do? Do you foresee an increase in yourself calling more and more sportsman competition this year? I love the work you do in the pits, but would like to see about how much more of the car and the driver builds themselves. What do I do with that, Alan? This is Wade. I'm being tapped to do more and more.
I didn't know you'd been doing less sportsman announcing the last 10 years. I mean, don't you go to every race? I mean, it seems like I've seen you quite a lot.
I don't know. I'm stunned. I'm there every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Wade, and I do a lot of sportsman announcing for the last 12 years. That's the problem, Reinhart. I'm not memorable, man. I'm not memorable. Set
your hair on fire.
It's my height. That's it. Short people get they've got no reason to live. Okay. Let's see. Joe, not to change things up, there's one race that is inaugural coming up in July that is going to be I want to let you know about, but you can email me, joe@wforadio.com. Bob Bender is out there. Race Guitar wants me to put the Trans Am in Comp Eliminator. I laughed at him on the Ignition show last night. Breakout racing is very tough. Joe needs a painting.
That was my idea.
Comp
if that thing ends up being an A modified, I was the first one that said that.
You were, and he brought you up on the Ignition show. We had a great discussion because Dave and Sue Morris and everybody was so helpful. But I had a real and genuine laugh because he was being serious. I know you're joking, but he was being serious. Maybe comp.
Wait till your engine's on the dyno and then tell me if I'm joking.
Are you kidding? The budget of Comp Eliminator is not. Like I could sell my house. Like I guess I could sell the house and sleep in the car. I could do it.
No, Derek says that's why you have an engine. That's why you have an engine sponsor.
Right. Yeah.
You put a Stennet decal on the side of that thing, and he'll build you 2,500 horsepower.
Jerron says Wade's old. Give him a break. See, I don't even know how old Wade is, and now Jerron is attacking this guy. It's become an attack fest on the show, and that's what I said, Alan. I'm in full agreement. Race Guitar wants me in Comp Eliminator. Look, I'm happy to drive anything. I feel like I've got the talent to drive many things. That's what we're sorting out. But I had to go out there and start somewhere, which I did, running, 10 somethings at 141. Had a blast. If I never get behind the wheel for another year, then that's fine. I learned a lot, and I will be able to use that experience to tell the story of all that do compete just this much better. And Wade, yes, I hope that Alan allows me to call some sportsman racing this year. We'll see. We will see.
I'll try to work you in.
This guy, thank you. This guy, I wonder how much Clint Neff has in his A Econo dragster. So the Attention in the Pits show is featuring the Ford cylinder-headed Clint Neff Aero F1 comp eliminator dragster. And it like was posted at 9:01 and like 9:02. It had like 20 comments talking about how crazy and amazing the thing was. Hopefully everyone will share that, not just like it, because that one's got to get out there.
Yeah, you got to love Clint Neff working with, the new technology. It had actually been developed. Jim Cunningham was the driving force behind getting the cylinder heads developed through Ford, because that's the way it has to be now to run in Pro Stock. And Jim was a real Ford guy. But after he passed, the project just kind of went dormant. But there were a few sets of heads out there, and Clint somehow got his hands on them. I remember it vividly when he showed up in St. Louis. And I don't remember exactly the number, but he reset the A Econo speed record by like 7 or 8 miles an hour. And when you get out there, records usually go, if somebody picks up a mile or 2 miles an hour over the record, that's doing something, right? Because everything now has pretty much been, everything's been tried. But he went out there and just crushed the record. And since it said on my screen that it was a Ford, I went over and take a look at it, being that I'm a little bit of a Ford guy. And the new Pro Stock cylinder headed stuff, that engine is going to be in a Ford Pro Stocker. I thought it would happen last year, never did, but looking forward to seeing what happens out there. The way it was designed, the clean sheet of paper stuff, and Darren Morgan was very heavily involved in that. There's not a whole lot of cylinder head guys out there that are smarter than he is. But it's a fascinating, I'd love to have a pair of them, because I might put a 500 incher in my Mustang, but it's a cool car. Everything about it is different from basically any other car out there. From, as you mentioned, the F1 Aero design, and you look at it and everybody goes, huh? And then you look at it, then you look at the numbers it runs, and everybody goes, well, let me take a closer look at that.
Yeah,
but it's a neat piece, and Clint's a good dude.
Well, so I just want to draw everyone's attention to the comment on the screen. Alan, do you see that? Yeah. Just
wow.
Yeah. So, let's document that moment, okay? Let's lock it in, everybody. On the show, Jaron Settles, the Flying Airbrush, says he'll be doing a helmet for me as things continue to evolve. Thank you very much, Jaron. I appreciate it.
Well, you send him a helmet, he'll put a WFO sticker on each side of it, and he'll send it back to you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Clear coat.
Listen, if Jaron touches it, it's artwork. That's the way it works, right? Like when an artist does something, they crinkle up a piece of paper and they put it on there, and it's like, look, I'm an artist. This is art, and someone is going to pay $10,000 for it. And that is true with Jaron, because he is an artist, and we've been talking about his talents and abilities for many years here on WFO. So if he were to do that, I would accept it as modern Jaron art. You mentioned Darren Morgan, though. I got to hang out with him at the most recent Engine Performance Expo, and he is, one of those airflow geniuses, and he's real proud of the Ford engine, that cylinder head, and he says that he thinks it's better than what they got out there. It's just nobody picked it up and ran with it. He's agreed to come on the show. Maybe one day when you're on here, like you and I can pepper him with questions, because there are so many people out there that they love Pro Stock, but they're just rubbed the wrong way that every engine is kind of the same. They long for the days of choice and factory wars. And maybe, who knows, maybe the team that goes down the road with those cylinder heads will be rewarded with a little performance.
I hope so. I agree. I think that, the beauty of the category used to be, my brand against yours. But as we've seen so often over the years, there really is one best way to do things, and everything kind of morphs that way. And then you end up with the dollar thing as well. General Motors for many years was pumping more R&D money into, the DRCE program is a perfect example. DRCE 1, 2, 3, and 4. And Chrysler Corporation for a while was putting some money into the program, the HEMI 99 project that I was fortunate to kind of be in the middle of when it was going on. And then the newer generation stuff, they really redesigned the blocks and made some minor changes to the heads, because when we would get them, there was just so much work that needed to be done. I've actually got a video on NHRA's YouTube channel where I compared a couple of cylinder heads from the Mopar HEMI 99 project. But Ford just didn't. As simple as that. There was never really a lot of factory involvement. You know, what Bob Glidden did for the vast majority of it, he did on his own. And there were a few other guys over the years that tried to run the Ford stuff. They got re-involved, what's it been now, 15 years ago or something, 10 years ago, where they kind of cloned the Dodge new generation HEMI head. You know, Larry Morgan was involved in that, and there were a few of them out there. But nobody has really taken a clean sheet of paper approach to building a cylinder head that came from factory Ford, which this one is. And it really is a neat piece, you know, that when I went over and I looked at Clint's car and we're sitting there talking, and, you know, just because of my background, even though I can't believe it's been that long ago now, I told him, I said, man, I wouldn't mind taking a look at I'd like to see one of those bare heads. I just want to see it, right? I mean, you know, you look at a head on a car and it's like, okay, well, you see a valve cover and you see a manifold, you see a header hanging off of it, but what can you really see?
Right.
And he said, give me your address, I'll send you one. And he had one that was actually on its way back to Darren to be reworked. And he sent it to me and got a chance to, you know, when you're like, ooh, this thing's cool. Now I want another one. But it's really interesting the way that they thought everything through, as far as making it useful, as far as making it friendly, as far as, you know, so many things make a difference when you're trying to do what they're trying to do, you know, push rod geometry and location and all this stuff. And when you're trying to work in, you know, where the water passages are going to be, and where the head bolts are going to be, and where the ports need to be, and sometimes you've got to make compromises. And they were able to do a lot of things with the cylinder head that I don't believe had been done before. So it's a neat piece. Very,
very neat. And it's on Clint Neff's competition eliminator dragster, which is up on Attention in the Pits. And Wade is, back. He's like, Jerron is right. I'm getting older. My question was more about, does announcing hurt the amount of time that you get to spend on Attention in the Pits? And Alan knows that it's absolutely it does. You can only be in one place at one time. But fortunately, myself, Alan, Jason Galvin, and others are always looking for cars that are, deserve to be highlighted, something different, something out of the ordinary. And sometimes I'll get a text from Alan. Here's a car that is cool. Like, remember the diesel Chevelle that towed its own trailer in, right? And Reinhart's like, you gotta go get this car, and we did immediately. But there are times like we can't go do Attention in the Pits right before first round eliminations for these drivers, and so the logistics part of it is a great challenge. I need to announce. I need to go do Attention in the Pits. Racers got to race, and sometimes those things are not, they are in conflict. And so we do our best. We've done 116 episodes that are out there. They're all on NHRA's YouTube channel, highlighting different cars all over the place, weird stuff, interesting stuff, some Camaros and Corvettes as well. And hopefully you like them. It's funny. Attention in the Pits is just now starting to gain what I deem traction. At the beginning, Alan, a lot of people would like see it and they would look at it and they would maybe like it and they would not share it. And then they would go complain that the Lucas Oil Series cars were not getting enough coverage from the NHRA. And it was like, guys, you got to share the deal, man. You got to share it. You got 100 people out there that would love this car. How about a retweet? How about a retweet for the car? But if you don't share it, don't complain that we're not covering it, because we're working real hard to do this. And now here we are 100 episodes in. People are realizing that we've documented not just the cars, by the way, because the people are crazy too. We got all these amazing characters in the NHRA, and all you got to do is go to our 100th episode, Sam Pusho, to know the amazing people of the NHRA. So Wade, I'm glad you enjoy it, and I will try to announce more as best as I can, as I am allowed.
I'm all for it. We'll just lock you into the announcer booth, and I'll go to Hooters.
Exactly. All right. So we got a vast audience out there. Everybody's excited. I think everyone is highly motivated about the start of the season. Tony Stewart got some laps this past week at Gainesville Raceway. If you follow Tony's social media, Ashley doing a great job putting out clips of the test. But to me, that made it real. Not that it ever wasn't real, but seeing smoke, jump in the car, get suited up, get in the car, make a lap. Just watch the Daytona 500, the gravity that Tony Stewart is going to be running for a championship in 2024 and all of the attention that it should bring. Where it should bring attention from all these NASCAR driver sites, NASCAR driver fans, people who are interested in Tony Stewart when he was with, USAC and IndyCar and everything he's ever done. If you want to follow the guy, you got to follow him through this journey. And it's, I think it's going to be amazing to see how it goes.
I think that one of the interesting things that Tony's doing, and I hope other people are paying attention to it, because there are plenty of people out there that, the smoke and the thunder and the speeds and is all awesome, but like, really, how tough could it be, right? I mean, you get in a car, you drive it in a straight line, how tough can it be? Well, like anything else, if you want to win, it requires effort. And the fact that Tony's been very open about, from the time he went to Frank Hawley's to making some laps in the alcohol car to running the season last year in the alcohol car when he ended up second driving the McPhillips Mobile in the national championship. The nuance stuff and the fact that it takes effort. You have to practice. You have to get these things right if you want to be competitive. Drag racing is actually automobile racing is the easiest thing in the world, right? The Daytona 500 is the easiest thing in the world. Okay, Joe, here's what you got to do. You got to get in a car and you got to drive it around the track 200 times. That's all you got to do.
Yep.
That's all you got to do.
Piece of cake.
Anybody can do that, right?
Until
the degree of difficulty comes in when you try to do it better than somebody else.
Yeah.
And when you try to do it better than the person, if you're at Daytona, obviously you make a mistake and you can end up with tore up cars and blah, blah, blah. But in a normal race, you could make a mistake on lap one. You could screw up in the pits. You could miss the corner a little bit. And so what? You got 499 miles to figure out, okay, we can make up for that. In drag racing, if you make a mistake, you're done. Right. It's not okay. We'll try to do better next lap. It's like, see you next race. And so the nuances of doing everything well in order to be competitive is something that Tony's really thrown himself into. And there's a reason he's been successful at everything he's done. Does he have some natural ability? Absolutely. Probably, more than, he's definitely on Mount Rushmore. I think, he would be on mine anyway. But the fact that he doesn't just go, okay, well, I've got enough natural ability. All I got to do is show up. What are you going to do in the meantime? Oh, I'll sit over here with a beer and put my feet up. And he's always working. He's always thinking. He's always trying to get better. How many guys do you know that would go to the time and effort that he has done to make these test runs because he wants to be comfortable in the car, because he wants to win? It's as simple as that. And he knows that no matter what you're doing, if you don't put the effort in, it's just not easy to jump in one of these things and win. So I love the fact that he's doing that. I like the fact that he's been so open about, some of the nuances and some of the things that he never knew that were important until he got in the car and realized, I can screw this up on a burnout if I don't do it right. And so you've got to do everything right in order to be competitive. And if you really want to get out and win, and we all know Tony wants to get out and win, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah. Right. He's going to be just fine. But Steve Torrence is going to be trying to load him up. And that's exciting. Like, how can you not be excited for what we've got coming? Maybe you're one of those people who, 30 years ago was the golden era and you love the Snake and Garlets and Shirley, and that was your time. And you kind of fell out of the sport a little bit, and you're probably not watching on a live stream show, but maybe you are. Like, now is a great time to dive back in, because we've got all this like fresh energy, fresh blood coming in to try at it. And NHRA.com has got a little breaking news, a story that just posted. And it's something that I felt like I knew was happening, but maybe not everybody else knew about it. Speaking of fresh blood, Skag Racing completes 3-car team with acquisition of Paul Richards Racing. Skag Racing has acquired Paul Richards Racing. Sorry, Phil, I'm going to read the story, so you're going to lose like 20 clicks. I'm sorry. I'm doing a show. This is how it works, right? Paul Richards Racing, driver Dave Richards, and the Versatran Bluebird Funny Car team will race under the Skag Racing banner beginning at the season opening Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals. Here's the quote that matters. This is the best case scenario for our Paul Richards Racing team, says Dave Richards. We're still all together, the same group of hardworking people. Just now we get to focus on racing. When Randy Glady and Skag approached us with the deal, we knew we couldn't pass it up. With Versatran and Bluebird, they were already making sure that we could race a full season. Now there's a sense of stability. My brother Paul and I can't thank Skag enough for investing in this team and trusting us to represent Versatran and Bluebird and Skag, and believing we deserve to be out here. And I won't tell you the rest so that you go read the rest of the story. Amazing quotes. You got to see them, guys. You got to see them up on NHRA.com. But look at that. A part-time occasional team that the best they could have hoped for was to get out there and maybe qualify and not tear up too much stuff, are now getting the opportunity to be compensated professional drag racers out there for a big and legitimate sponsor as part of the Skag Racing team. More fresh energy. Not so much the Richards family. I'm talking about this Randy Glady from Skag, who is going to be on WFO before the Gator Nationals.
Well, it really takes the pressure off when you don't have to worry about the financial aspect of it, when that's somebody else's worry, because I don't care how much money you have. You know, obviously the Torrence family has done very well in business over the years, but even they have to be conscious of how much money they're spending to go out on their hobby and drag race. And they don't cut a lot of corners, believe me, but they have to be conscious.
I don't know. Do they?
If you have somebody else that is doing that, whether you have full sponsorship and you don't have to worry about it, or you have a team owner, you know, that just takes the pressure off. You know, there's one less thing you have to worry about if all you have to worry about is go out there and make my car fast, be competitive, and win races and take care of customers. And Randy Glady, as much as Randy Glady wants to win and he wants his cars to do well, he's not there to get a trophy. He's there to do business. He's there to welcome his dealers, to welcome his customers, to bring them out to the trackside hospitality thing and do business. And that's one thing that NHRA's got over every other motorsport out there. You know, does IndyCar have, you know, hospitality areas and meet and greets and stuff? Sure they do. Does NASCAR? Absolutely they do. Can you be 5 feet from the race car while they're working on it just before or just after it ran? No, but you can in the NHRA. And that's a great way to do business. When you've got a company like Skag that is nationwide, that has dealers everywhere, it's an opportunity to welcome people to come out to the track, to have the experience, and to sit down and talk to, you know, your salesmen and your dealers and your customers. And, you know, just kind of reinforce the fact that, you know, the reason you went with us was a good one, because this is one of the perks. You know, I know, you know, my tool guys around here will come by when the nationals are coming, right? It's like, hey, look at me. I got tickets. I'm going to go sit in Cruz Pedregon's hospitality. I'm going to go sit in Antron Brown's hospitality. This is what I'm going to do, you know, and that's a big part of doing business. You know, Levi Ray and Chaup. How many people sat in the grandstands that saw Levi Ray and Chaup on the side of Tim Wilkerson's car and went, oh, hey, that's, you know, that's something I need. That's a company I'm going to call. That's not why Dick Levi was there. He was there so he could bring his customers out for a day at the races. And that made the investment worthwhile. And I think Randy Glady sees it exactly the same way. He wants to win, certainly. But what he wants to do is he wants to do business. And that is a great place and a great atmosphere to do business. And he recognizes that. A lot of people have over the years.
And so you've got Justin Ashley running under the Skag banner, championship contender. You've got Tim Wilkerson. Now you've got the Richards family. Of course, Jeg with Skag on the side. Like Skag coming in. Like if you are a drag racing fan and you are got to go buy a mower and you've got some land, right? Like the answer should be pretty clear that you're going to go buy a Skag as best as you can. That is pretty cool. I'm real happy for the Richards family because they've been grinding, you know, they have been grinding used parts, all that stuff for many, many years. And just like me, Alan, like when you get your opportunity now, right? Like now you got it. Now you're here. 2024 NHRA Drag Racing. Go perform. And I think they're going to be able to do it. Are they going to be a top half car in the first couple races? Nobody expects them to do that. consistent runs, go down the racetrack, try not to hurt parts, learn, earn respect, qualify, knock out a big guy every once in a while, and advance your knowledge and experience. I think they are going to be good, and people are going to love, Dave and Paul Richards. Is going to be great. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And I have a little higher expectation than that. I think that, the fact that they are going to be able to, I'm assuming, increase their inventory, get, stronger, newer, better stuff, and you will be able to lean on it a little bit harder. When you've got to run on your own wallet, you're always conscious of, okay, if I push, then maybe I get this performance, or maybe I bring back a car with this damage and I can't afford the damage. So I've got to be careful not to push. When you don't have to worry about that anymore, that gives you an opportunity to push a little harder. I think that, there's enough smart guys over there. Paul Smith's been working with them for a long time. There's enough smart guys over there that know how to make the car run faster if they have the budget, if they have the parts and the stuff to go out and lean on it. And as has been proven time and time and time again, new parts are simply better. You can lean on them harder. If the teams that would be out there for years that would run a set of cylinder heads for 10 runs and then sell them. Why? Because after they've been heat cycled so many times, the seats move around a little bit. They're still okay, but they're not perfect. And perfect is going to run better than okay every time. So if you've got the opportunity to get those parts, they know how to make the car run. I'm not saying they're going to win the first 5 races, but I think they're going to be pretty solid contenders pretty quickly out of the box.
Well, I hope so. That will be wonderful. I set the expectations very manageable, and Reinhart sets them real high. And that's just the difference in the way we do things. All right. Nicole Clark is confusing us once again. This to me is just a story that has been confused. What do you think about Leah possibly competing in the Pep Boys call out, but Josh Hart possibly getting in by default? Okay. So I was under the understanding that Leah is definitely competing in the Pep Boys All-Star call out, barring, disappearing or getting kidnapped or something like that, that is the plan. And because she qualified, Josh will not get in. I was under the understanding that was fact, but then there was a lot of murky messaging out there from various, what is the truth? And it's clear that Nicole doesn't know, which then she's a knowledgeable person. What do you know is fact?
Well, what Tony Stewart Racing said is what I'm taking as fact.
Right.
They have one crew. They're not going to bring in a whole nother crew just to run the Pep Boys call out race. That makes no sense. They have one crew. The plan is on Friday for Tony to go out and make a couple of runs, be solidly qualified in the field, and then they will push his car off to the side and run Leah's car on Saturday for the call out. Now, if Tony's not qualified, the priority on Saturday will be for Tony to get qualified and get in the field. And if that's the case, then Leah will not run in the Pep Boys call out. So, Friday night, no pressure or anything, Neil, Mike, Friday night, when they go out there and run 368 at 334.2 miles an hour, then Tony will be solidly qualified in the field. And then they can work on Leah's car on Saturday and go try to win the Pep Boys cash and be a part of the call out. If that doesn't happen on Friday and they have to run Tony's car on Saturday in order to get it qualified, then Leah will not be able to run. And in that case, Josh will go in.
There you go. And now we've cleared it up. And so Josh Hart, not that anyone would root for anything negative to happen, but he might, because he's defending call out winner. He won the 80 grand last year. He is on tenterhooks, wondering whether or not he'll get to run that race, and he does not know, and it is all based on Tony Stewart's performance on Friday.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, 368, 334 Friday night. No problem.
Write it down, folks. Write that down. Reinhardt's making a bold prediction on the show. He's giving numbers. You should write it down in case he is right. Right? Bob Bender says Skag would look good on the side of the big girl. It would. You get a lot of real estate, and it will be on track for a long time, relatively speaking. This gentleman mentions
you could put a lot of lawn equipment in the back of that thing.
Yes, you could. You could actually have a Skag in the back of the big girl. Earl Nichols says, don't forget Joe Maynard running the Samsol's top alcohol dragster. Yeah, I'm excited to see Joe as well. Dude's a helicopter pilot, though, and has been
so am I. I mean, who's not a helicopter pilot?
I am not yet a helicopter pilot, but
I mean, Joe C might have a few more hours than me, but still, I'm
while being shot at, which is another added element. Like you did not get to that. He was under fire. But I have hung out with Joe C. Maynard, Joe Maynard's son. Great guy. And I think he's gotten a couple of interviews and people have got to know him a little bit. I feel like I know him fairly well from our, hanging out on the starting line as the cars are going down the racetrack, just getting to know him. I think he's going to be good, Alan. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to bring that analytical pilot's mind while also, impervious to pressure. I feel like if you've been under fire in combat, that the pressure of a drag race and the lights, and like I was joking about how humiliated I would be if I, red lighted. I think he will be able to not consider that.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to rattle him up there on the starting line. I'm not worried about that at all. But I'm going to reiterate now. I mean, somebody needs to do. We're going to keep track an unofficial alcohol rookie of the year. Because we've got such a great rookie class of alcohol drivers out there this year that it's just going to be fun to watch. And I don't know how often they'll all be on the same track or they'll be able to go head to head. And, obviously, with some in funny car and some in dragster, they never would. But I am going to be keeping unofficial track of who does the best job as a rookie driver. And, like they do in the Mission Series, just because you've run a race or two doesn't take you out of consideration for being a rookie. Like I believe, Chad Green, he's run a few races, won the World Finals last year, or the in and out finals. But I think that this will be, I would still count this as his rookie campaign. So, he's going to be out there. Josie's going to be out there. Angel's going to be out there. Of course, Maddie Gordon's going to be out there. They're just such a great rookie alcohol category. I think we need to keep track of who does the best job just for funsies.
I commit.
Or a WFO t-shirt.
I commit the resources right now, Alan. You're selected. Like, I feel like I would like to offer my opinion as well, but you're coming up with the methodology. Whoever is selected by you as the alcohol rookie driver that you're talking about, I commit to having them on WFO radio for us to celebrate their accomplishment. And yes, I'll even throw in a WFO radio t-shirt.
Well, there you go.
There it is.
Now they've got something to race for.
That's it.
Now they've got something to race for.
They will be honored on the show, and they will receive a t-shirt worth a few dollars.
If there's one thing that I have learned in the years that I've been out here doing this, the
will do
price of the prize. The price of the prize doesn't mean as much as, the exclusivity. And, people have gone to war over cupcakes for me. So,
yes.
Yeah, the WFO t-shirt that will be, emblazoned with top alcohol rookie of the year in Sharpie.
Yes.
One of one. I mean, that's, the symbolic prizes are, because we could write you a check for $4 million. What are you going to do? You're going to spend it.
It's only money.
And then what?
Who cares?
But if you have this one and only t-shirt, then that thing will be framed and it'll be like, my Eric Medlin shirt that I had proudly hanging on the wall up here. It'll be framed and it'll be there forever.
Like it has been written. It is out there in the world. I'm sure they are all knuckling down to work even harder. Just now that the announcement will reverberate through the social media, we are starting the alcohol rookie of the year. But you're going to have to come up with a list, though, Alan. Now there's going to be a little homework, like who is officially being considered for this, and we can reveal that in the coming weeks. Like pride comes with the recognition of one's accomplishments, just a trophy, right? You got to feel good about what you've accomplished. Maddie Gordon, real excited to watch her.
I'm going to see her this weekend.
Going to be very cool. Very eloquent words from Alan Reinhart. All right, let's keep on moving though. So I'm looking at the Top Fuel, they've got points up. I don't know what they are, but I'm just thinking about Doug.
Everybody's
Coletta,
tied right now.
but that's not what our website says. But this is following last year's, but it's got Steve Torrence in the like. It's clearly some sort of glitch, whatever. But Steve Torrence, they DNQ'd at the big pro race. They had a year last year that I felt like was good, but not what they consider good.
Yeah, good by anybody's standards except theirs.
Right. They had moments, they had big moments, but it was Doug's year. But now, like that rivalry, Alan Johnson used to be over there, and now Alan's with Coletta, and Alan is Alan. And what this is a chance for him. He finally got it all where he wanted it, and now it's there. And what are they going to do with it? You got Brian over there on Sean's car. You got Max Savage.
Finally got rid of that stupid canopy that was holding him back all this time.
That's it. Dump the canopy. And, well, who knows? You know, Antron seems to be able to get it to run pretty well. But like
so David Grubnick. So yeah, there's no advantage one way or the other. It just
top fuel story.
You can make a line of demarcation, right? As soon as they brought out the non-canopy car, everything clicked. So that's blame the canopy.
Right. You know, Alan's tune-up, Alan's dynamic understanding, all of those things. It just worked perfectly once they got rid of the canopy. But just, names.
Now Alan did win a championship with Brittany in a canopy car. Okay, so I'm really not bagging on the canopy. I'm just having fun. You can win with either one. That's been proven.
That's good. That's good. Steve and Billy, Doug and Sean, like Sean Langdon. Okay. Like there's one. Now that the Doug Coletta has never won a championship storyline is off the desk. Right. And it was a problem for one of our greatest drivers, beloved characters, most well-known names in all of drag racing to be this super talented individual. And it just never went his way. Every year that would tug on your heartstrings, right? Like, oh, Doug, that's gone. Doug's a champ and he's sporting that number one. But now I think that opens the door for a lot of different things, like the Sean Langdons of the world they're going to work real hard to get that program to where Doug's is right now. Thinking about that. And Sean, he hasn't become less talented. So I'm thinking that Sean Langdon is going to have a big year.
Well, it's interesting to me because Alan and Brian have worked together for so long and been so successful everywhere they've been. And they've been together, since the Army days. And to take Brian and move him over on Sean's car, I certainly understand the thinking of we need to do something to pick up that program. I get it. But with Alan having to take care of his business out in Santa Maria, not being hands-on, not being in the shop every day, that's kind of the role that Brian filled. So I'm wondering, I just can't help but wonder if, is that going to help Sean? Absolutely. But is that going to be a little bit of a detriment on Doug's side of the fence? And I can't help but think that it may be. I mean, you look at, guys that work well together, and I don't think you have to look any farther than Max Savage and David Grubnick, right? I mean, look what those two did as a team. And they ran very well with Clay's car. When they moved over to Force, they ran very well with Brittany's car, won the championship, set, low ET everywhere they went, set track records everywhere they went. And then John decided to split them up because he wanted to try to take Mac and hopefully shore up the performance of his car a little bit. And he split them up. And did David forget how to tune? No. No. But you took away his right-hand man, and you look at what the performance of that car was last year, and it certainly wasn't what they expect. If you have a great team, sometimes I think you're better off leaving them as a team than to, try to take half of that team and make another great team out of it. I guess time will tell. Connie's a pretty successful and pretty smart guy, and everybody they got over there working, the budget they have, parts they have, pieces they have. But I just kind of wonder a little bit about, you've got two guys that have worked so well together so long and had all the success. And I'm not 100% sure that splitting them up is the smartest thing in the world to do, but I guess time will tell.
Time will tell, right? That Max Savage, I like Mac a lot. And when that decision was made a year, super quiet individuals, never, ever seeking the limelight. And not like Grubnick is either, right? He doesn't want the limelight. Like, get the limelight away from me. But I don't know. I think I'm excited. And Mac is now over there with Coletta, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works. I'm curious about Billy Torrence running a full season. Billy is not doing it just to do it. Like, Billy is going to be chasing a championship. Excited about that. Justin Ashley. Not really a ton of talk about Justin. Guy went out there and did had a real strong first 2/3 of the season. And it is my understanding that each of the last 2 years where they've had strong and solid success, budgetary considerations in the final third of the season. Like, you only have a budget to run X, and it was an issue. No longer will it be an issue with Skag out there as the team owner getting everything that they need. I think there's going to be a difference, especially in the final third of the season.
Well, again, time will tell. That's a really good running race car. They've got guys over there that have championship experience, and Justin is as good as it gets sitting behind the wheel. You talk about guys that, have you ever seen him rattled? Ever?
No.
I mean, just calm and focused and even keel, and he's got a job to do, and he's going to go up there and do his job. They're going to be right in the mix again. I think that this year is going to be every bit as competitive as it was last year, and potentially even more so with some of the other players that are coming out to do it. But when you go into Sunday, the last day of the season, and you've got 3 drivers that have a legitimate shot, I mean, like, control their own destiny to win the championship, and it comes down to the last run of the year, winner take all for the championship, that's pretty competitive stuff. Funny Car was exactly the same way. You had 3 drivers that went in, and the level of competition right now is just amazing, and it's really fun to watch. For everybody that talks about, well, back in the day, I remember John Force one time was crowned champion at Indy because he was so far out in front of everybody that if he'd have just left and gone on vacation, they couldn't catch him. And it's not that way anymore. Nobody has that kind of an advantage over the field, and that's what makes it fun when we get up every Sunday morning. I used to get to the racetrack, and I'd look at the ladder Sunday morning, and I'd go, "Whoa, semifinals! This is gonna be a pretty big matchup here, right?" And you can't do that anymore. You look at those things. How often do we sit there on Saturday night because you're picking your marquee matchup for pre-race ceremonies and go, "Okay, we've got 3 legitimate marquee matchups in the first round." And again, it used to be, you waited till the semifinals before you even had a marquee matchup coming up on Sunday. But the talent pool is so deep, and all of the cars can't qualify in the top half of the field. So that means you're going to have some of those big name guys racing each other starting round 1. And that's what keeps the fans coming back. That's why we tell you, don't be late on Sunday.
Yeah, no, it's going to be better than ever before. And it keeps getting better. Like 2023 was better than 22. 22 was better than 21. It's getting better and better. The performances, the close competition, the intensity, the personalities. Remember 10 years ago, people were talking about, oh, well, the drivers are boring and they're not giving us any personality. Now you've got these swashbuckling, cocky sometimes, depending on confident, you could call them. We got a personality for everybody out there. Very interesting, intriguing. You got Hagen. He's going for 3 Gator Nationals in a row. He's trying to do the hat trick at the Gator Nationals. That is a huge deal. Erica trying to win the Gator Nationals for the first time, coming in as hot, like a ball of flames, as on fire as you could possibly be. The good fire metaphor, of course. Just super exciting, and I can't wait. All right, Alan, any final thoughts before we let folks go? You can talk about the Daytona 500 as well, because I know you were watching, as was I.
Yeah, I was actually listening to it here at the shop while I was working on this stuff, and then I got home just in time to see the last couple of laps. But I actually put on Twitter last night, I would never, as a broadcaster, as somebody who makes their living racing, I would never wish a rain out on anybody. But Monday Night NASCAR was kind of cool. I mean, you think maybe once or twice a year they could do, hey, let's run Bristol night race Monday evening instead of Sunday or Saturday. I thought it was kind of a cool deal. And especially with football season being over with, Monday's wide open for sports. So put it on the schedule that way, and we can watch it. But wildly exciting race until they tore up all the race cars at the end of it, which is what that's turned into. And congratulations to the Hendrick folks, and to William Byron, and they deserved it. They ran well. But I'm a car guy, and I just hate seeing all that stuff get torn up at the end of it. But it was a pretty entertaining race to listen to. I'll give them that. I mean, at least they weren't parading around, right? They were pack racing and side by side for almost all afternoon and evening. So I'm just glad racing season's underway, and I can't wait for us to get to Gainesville for the Mission stuff. But cranking up this weekend with Belrose and with Phoenix. If you're in the neighborhood of one of them, support your local racetrack.
Get out there. Get out there. Lucas Oil product is as good as anything out there. You get amazing cars. You get amazing people. You get an environment where you can get up close. Like that car won best appearing at the U.S. Nationals, and it was like 10 feet away from me. I was down there in the shutdown. I was able to get parachute shots. People are not able to do that. This is my buddy Rick's Top Sportsman car. Here's the truck I was driving, Alan. Got my FTI decals on there, thanks to those guys. Sue Morris's super street car, just a blast out there at Division 2 racing, and it's going to be the same for you guys. It's going to be the same at Belrose. It's such a cheap ticket. Everybody's like, it's too expensive. I can't do it. You can find the money to go to a divisional race in your couch, no doubt. Go scrape it up and get out there and support these drag racers. All right, Alan, great job.
I'm with you. I'm headed up there tomorrow. They're going to be doing some test and tune stuff tomorrow, and then we start the first race on Thursday. Double divisional alcohol cars, I believe, are running Friday and Saturday. So if you want to see the fast ones come out, come on out.
Love it. Alan, great job as usual. Have fun. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Joe.
Take care. Bye. There he goes. The voice of the NHRA, Alan Reinhart, joins us each week right here on WFO Radio. All right, final thoughts and comments in the comments section right now. What do you got? I saw a couple that I want to answer already, but I do want to tell you about a couple more people who make it possible for me to go WFO, like Marvin Rodak and RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com, the hot sauces, the spice rubs, but it's really all about the coffee. If you want to try it, the best coffee in the world. That's what I'm telling you. The best coffee from around the world. 817-924-6821. That's RodaksCoffeeandGrills.com. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, they just posted a photo of Brian Karate in the seat of a funny car. And I know Richard Shute just made some laps over 200 miles per hour. Now is the time. Whatever you want to do, whether you want to do the Dragster Adventure or whatever you want to do, they've got a program for you. They travel around the country with many of their cars. Go to frankhawley.com. Call them, ask them, tell them you heard about it on WFO. And of course, the folks at samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, training and educating the next generation of machinists, engine block programs, CNC programs, motorsport EFI tuning, and they're approved to train veterans under the GI Bill. Call Brian Massengill and tell him, Joe Castello told me to call you about my education. All right. So I just want to share while you guys are populating your comments, while you're putting your comments in the comment section, I want to celebrate the moment that I was able to score my first ever NHRA round win. Hopefully I will be able to find that. Like, where is it? Right. That's the thing. I'm looking for my videos, or maybe I can't find it and we're not going to do it. That could also happen too. Looking for the WFO workstation. No, it's not showing up. The computer, sometimes it just, everything is different from the second ago that you left it. Yeah, that's what just happened right now. Let's see what everybody has to say. Stan says, congrats, Joe. Stan had a question earlier that I want to address. Just a question. Do people really care anymore who wins the championship? Or is it all about the experience? It is about the experience of winning a championship. That's what it's about. Drag racing in any form is wonderful. I had a great time. My friends who run street cars at sportsman races at their local track, they're having a great time. But it's about return on commitment. We've heard of return on investment. Of course, everybody wants to get a return on investment, but in drag racing, it's really hard to get a return on investment. So it's return on commitment. And there are some things, as much as, money is vital and valuable, but there are some things that are worth more than money, or at least have value other than money. And winning a championship is something that can never be discounted, can never be discredited, and can never be taken away. Once you win a championship and you become a champion in anything at any point, that experience lives with you forever. There are millions of people. There's over 300 million Americans. Like, how many have won a championship competitively of any kind? Like, think Little League baseball. Like, how many Little Leaguers get to be on a championship team that they win their league? Some do, but not all. And it's not 50%. It's a smaller number to even have the experience of winning a championship. I reference often jokingly my 3 sportsman, bracket racing track championships. 2 of those are very legitimate. One of them is kind of illegitimate, but I still won it. And I still mention it because I did win 3. The reason it was illegitimate is because the way this track did it is they did it in one big race at the end of the year. And if you win the race, you win the championship. And I won the race and I won the championship, but it wasn't a single season-long commitment. But I don't always tell people, because why? I'm just padding the numbers, right? I did win the 1991 high school track championship at Miami Hollywood Speedway over some very tough racers, but there was like 6 guys competing on a regular basis. So it wasn't that legitimate. But it was the best I could do, and I beat everybody. And in 1995, Super Pro track champion Moroso Motorsports Park, 50, 60 people chasing points, really good racers, excellent racers, and I beat them all. That's my real shining success as a racer to this point. It's 25 years later, and I still remember that I did that, and that experience is valuable in other things. Like, I did something that I committed to it, and I succeeded. So what does Doug Coletta feel like? What does that feel like for Chad Head, for those guys to be in that office every freaking day, working for a goal and then accomplishing it? And they might try to brush it off. I talked to Chad at that banquet and he's like, I'm ready to go racing again. I want to do it again. I want to get out there and drag race because I love drag racing and I love banquets. Okay. But there's going to come a time in all these people's lives down the road, the times that we don't want to think about, where when you look back at like what you've accomplished and you won a championship. So yes, everybody out there that's leaving their family, that's spending way too much money, that's on the road at 3, 4 a.m., catching flights, red eyes back, dealing with the anxiety, dealing with all the nonsense that you never even think about that it exists. You can bet they care who wins the championship. You can bet it's the most important thing. It is everything who wins the championship. And that's why, like, when I think about the In-N-Out Burger finals at Pomona that really just happened a couple of months ago, the significance of that race, a winner-take-all Top Fuel final round. Daniel and Tim Wilkerson racing against each other, father and son, for a personal accolade. Daniel's first win as a crew chief with Chad Green, who now be driving. Tim trying to beat his kid, go out there and get a win. Like, anybody who tries to diminish that event, why would you? It was one of the greatest single events ever. And then all of a sudden, you start thinking about how many great events we've had. The whole sport of drag racing, thinking about just, the lights out stuff. These people, they put in the effort. They're doing a little something different, but they all deserve to be, supported for their efforts. If you can win the big race, the Daytona 500 of drag racing, the U.S. Nationals, it matters. And the day it stops mattering, it's like, why are we doing anything then? Why are we doing anything? Michael, I heard a rumor that NHRA is looking at the NASCAR formula for teams is hogwash. Guaranteed qualifying is what makes things exciting for Saturday. Okay, so Michael, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. And I understand it's a comment up on YouTube, but not enough information for me to understand. What formula? What do you mean? You talking about charters? Are you talking about everybody qualifies? Like, what do you mean? I don't know. I will tell you this. I do and have been thinking about a way for an NHRA team to retain value as opposed to just lose value. You buy something, X, whatever it is, and it immediately is worth less the second you've purchased it, like a used car, right? Like being involved in the highest level of drag racing should be something that becomes more valuable over time, not less valuable. And how could that be accomplished? I don't know. Bender. Joe, bring 2 big WFO stickers to Gainesville for the wagon. I will. But how big are you talking, Bob? Are you talking this big? Are you talking like this? Like on the side of my own vehicle? Because everybody's got the little ones. Because I got 4 of these bad boys right here, and 2 could have your name on them. And the other 2 are going to go on my car. Of course, I'll get more made. But just, I don't want to impose. When you say big, what do you mean? What do you mean? Excited to have Cletus and Cars the same weekend as Top Alcohol Funny Car and Dragster in May at IRP. Packed house last year, obviously. And Cletus, thanks to Clay, has been given like a gateway to understanding that drag racing and NHRA drag racing in particular is a cool, competitive, difficult, challenging thing. Nobody thinks that they're better than anybody else. That's some statement that gets thrown out there. Someone told me NHRA was a country club once. No, it's a fun, awesome environment. Why say things that aren't necessarily true? And I think Cletus knows that now, and year 2 is going to be even better. Great show as always. Bring a friend to the track, ask your neighbor, or not your neighbor. A lot of people hate their neighbors, Strikester Jeff. It's true. I hate, it's a bummer of a situation, but it is true. A lot of people hate their neighbors. Let's see. Scott, Monday night finals at Indy. Yeah. Night racing. Racing at night. Cars under lights. It's big. Point chases lead to quite a few spur of the moment travel plans. Absolutely. Especially in the Lucas Oil series. You guys did not watch Kyle Rizzoli. I know I'm not afraid to shame the audience a little bit. Kyle Rizzoli, stock champ, great interview, great guy, awesome car. I know it was pre-recorded. Me live is no better than me on tape. Go back and watch Kyle Rizzoli in the archive. Guy was awesome. It's there. It's waiting for you. Learn about our Lucas Oil Stock Eliminator champion. Stop discriminating against racers just because their cars don't cost as much as Top Fuel dragsters. Okay. The effort to win that Stock Eliminator championship was Herculean. They scored it. They did it. It's worth a watch. Don't tell me you support drag racing without supporting sportsman racers. You got to support sportsman racers. It's like, yeah, if you've got a pro mod or above, we care about you and we support you. But anything less than that, we don't care about you exist because you're not fast enough. Tell me I'm wrong. Let's see. If it takes a tenured, well-versed drive like Tony Stewart, 35 runs or more to feel safe or more, how many alcohol or Top Fuel passes should be required to let someone from motorcycle or social media race in Top Fuel? Well, that is why there is a whole process, and licensed drivers must sign off on the license. And if they see something that they don't like, then they don't sign it. That's why. And you don't just get one, you got to get 3. Yeah, franchise system, says Michael. I'm for it, depending on the details. Like, what are the details, right? What are the details? Comp Plus. Love Bobby Bennett. Those guys on the Power Hour, Darren and Monday Morning Racer. But Bobby Bennett called Jason Logan an out-of-work comedian so unnecessarily that it was just an unnecessary shot in his column about the race in Bradenton. Like, of all the people who are minding their own business and not involved, Jason Logan, who works so hard, comes out there, leaves a whole bunch of money on the table to be a part of NHRA Drag Racing, and he is the guy who gets shot. It has nothing to do with anything other than Jason Logan, the out-of-work comedian, right? Like Bobby, why would you do that, man? Why would you do that? Kyle Rizzoli interview was classic. Wyatt Wagner as well. All right, here's some big news, guys. Tomorrow, 12 noon, just got this for you. Big breaking news. I need every one of you here. Big Daddy Don Garlets, the yearly Garlets interview is happening tomorrow. It was up in the air. I couldn't tell you at the beginning of the show. I just got the text. It's happening 12 noon tomorrow. Garlets. You got what I'm saying? Big Daddy talking about the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, the inductees. Who's going in the hall on Thursday night before Gainesville? Bernie's Fan Fest Wednesday, Garlets Hall of Fame Thursday. I know who's going in. Scott Coletta's going in. Jungle Pam is going in. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be one of the best things ever. You guys thought that after John Force went in the hall that they wouldn't be able to come up with interesting, compelling personalities to put in there. Shame. It's going to be, great. It's going to be great. And Garlets is going to be on the show 12 noon tomorrow talking a little bit about it. And that's when I'll play my big round win out there from Orlando Speed World Dragway. And I want to thank Ozzy for his track and his family who are running the show out there. Every time I go to Speed World Dragway in Orlando, there is some sort of improvement. It's not necessarily the largest improvement, but it's something to make the facility better and more friendly. I had a blast being out there. And then, there's always the, why are you doing it? And this is the crew, guys. My buddy Lee on the left, myself, Rick McDonough, Corey Kramer, our great friend Matt Buck, Jason Bader, not pictured. He was loading up his vehicle, but we had a blast. If you want to see my runs, you follow my social media. WFO Joe on Twitter, X, and Instagram, Facebook, WFO Radio, Instagram, WFO Radio, all of those things. Great stuff. Such a good time. And I really wish that every single person could feel that experience, because you'd have a different understanding. Pulling into the water box, like Alan said, like I said, pulling into the water box in competition, knowing that someone's going home, knowing that you've got, 600-700 horsepower under your right foot. You got to do a competent burnout. You got to stage it right. You got to do it right, or you will be humiliated by your fellow track announcer friends. Yeah, it was tough. Large Father, I'm there. That's right. Spread the word, guys. Garlets, 12 noon tomorrow. Big Daddy, 12 noon tomorrow. WFO. Share the show. I wish I could have told you earlier, but we just didn't have it locked in. It's locked in now. Garlets, 12 noon tomorrow. Get social. Get it out there. All right, I'm done. Out of material, guys. When's he being serious? You just never know. WFO.